Listening to this feedback from our most recent 5-day Refurbishment Accelerator course and what the delegates had to say about spending the week with me and my team.
We've been following Paul on social media for sort of 18 months or so now. We did the 2-day startup course back at the start of this year. From there, we knew how invaluable doing this course would be. So yeah, that was sort of the really main reason for us to sort of get on this course. It's been brilliant. I've learned so much, being able to really compartmentalise the process of developing property. There is a lot to understand, but the way in which Paul teaches it, it breaks it down into bite-sized chunks that you can really take in. And
this week's been really interesting, if I'm honest. Yes, a lot of the information is been a bit like gobbledygook to start with, but going through it with Paul has been fantastic. I understand so much more. I would say don't worry if you don't have a massive amount of experience in any of these things, because you really do go down to the bare knuckles, and it's not high level, techno speak, if you want to say it like that. It really is a good logical way of going through each process, and Paul thoroughly explains everything. Really good.
Got massive learnings on each day. Probably the most valuable day to ourselves was yesterday, going through the actual procedures, how to create procedures and the differences between processes and procedures and systems. That for us is invaluable, from a way to be able to now put procedures in place that can be ran by other people, not by ourselves, and have the systems behind that to be able to scale the business to where we want to do.
So I booked the course to say I'm very, very glad I did, and I'm very glad that I haven't started or attempted a big project without doing this first. Learning this course has pretty much answered all my questions that I think most people in my position have. Things like, and I've got an entire kind of systemized process and framework where I can look at any property that I want to get involved in, figure out roughly what I want to do in terms of an exit. Do I want to sell it? Do I want to rent it out? Or do something else? And all the things in between, how do I actually calculate from putting an offer in to actually getting out? I have an entirely systemized process that helps me get the most out of that deal, but then also repeat that going forward as well.